As part of restoring the Zephyr 750, I've got to tackle the clocks. This is the back of the Speedo. It's been stood outside for 5 or 6 years and it's basically tarnished. Trouble is, it's plastic, it's chrome on plastic. The problem with the chrome you get on plastic parts is it is quite soft, and anything abrasive, any of the abrasive cleaners like Autosol or anything like that, they will clean it, but they'll also dull the finish. Now the finish on this is actually not quite good underneath all the muck and tarnishing, so you need something that's not going to dull the surface when you clean it. And as you probably know from my other videos, I'm trying to do this bike as cheaply as possible without spending any money if I can help it. Got to spend a little bit, but I'm trying to do things as cheaply as possible but still get good results. Now what I've used in the past for chrome plastic parts that are tarnished like this is just plain white vinegar, distilled white vinegar, just a clear sort of vinegar you can get. And so I'm just going to show you on this how it works. So all you need, clean cloth, something to clean, and you can see the tarnishing on that, how bad it is. There's even a stain there, probably a rust stain from where the actual metal chromed piece has run down onto it. And it's just generally not very nice. That's the worst side. The top's not too bad, it's still tarnished, you can't quite see it on the camera, but it is tarnished, but not as badly as the underneath. But let's say we're going to try this with the white vinegar, as I've used before, on chrome plastic parts, and just see what happens. So I've got a clean cloth, just not to, don't have to be wet, just wet the cloth with the pure vinegar, dab it on like that, and wipe it on, whatever, but you need to just get a little bit onto it. You could even dip it in if you've got enough. I've only got a little bit left, so I'm just dabbing it on, but just let it soak on a little bit, just for a little while, and then wipe it off like that. And that's not perfect yet, really it needs to soak a little bit longer. I'll dab a bit more on, let it soak a bit longer. Now you do have to be slightly careful with using vinegar for this sort of thing. You can use this white vinegar for soaking rusted items. If you've got rusted bolts or anything like that, just drop them in some vinegar, leave it for a day or two and rinse them off, and removes most of the rust. But I have found in the past with painted items and even this sort of chrome, well this is not too bad, but this sort of thing, if I was to soak that overnight, it will soften the coating. So don't do that, don't leave it, but you could leave it for an hour, it'll be fine, but don't leave it overnight or anything like that soaking, because it will soften the coating. It's not a paint stripper, but it will soften it. But that's soaked a little bit longer. Let's try again, just give it another quick rub. And that's much better anyway. Still not perfect, but it's much better. We'll try that. That is the worst bit underneath here, with that rust stain on it as well from another piece. There's a rust stain down there, so I'll just try it on that and just see what happens. Bit more vinegar, dab it on the rust and the tarnishing, just dab it on just to get some on it. I mean, no matter, you could spray it with a spray bottle even or anything like that, just to get something on it, some of the vinegar on it. Let it rest a little minute and then wipe it off. a lot better. They're not perfect, but all we need to do, get some more. You can, if you want, just lay the cloth on it like that, the wet cloth, and just, if you're having trouble, because it will bead off, especially with something that's slightly greasy or smooth like this, you'll have trouble keeping it wet with the vinegar. So you can, if you wet the cloth and lay it on it, you can do that. Or like say, if you've got a container big enough for the part and plenty of white vinegar, you can even submerge it completely, leave it for a few minutes, take it out and wipe it down. If it needs a bit longer, just put it in again, leave it for a little bit longer, just a few minutes, 5 minutes maybe, take it out, give it a wipe down, and just keep doing that. You'll have to do it it's just a case of trying it and see what happens time wise for soaking it on. But like I say, it's coming quite nice now. It's brought off the rust completely, the rust stain completely. Well, there's a little tiny bit left at the end there, but another soak will be fine. Now that will get the majority of it off. If it's really bad like this, I think when I've finished this, it will probably want some very, very fine cutting compound, or polishing compound should I say, paint polishing compound, just to finish it off. But if it's not too bad to start with, if it's just slightly tarnished, this will bring it up like new most of the time. So let's say just a case of complete soak it in. If you want to, you can do that. Just pour a bit on the cloth, let it soak on, and just keep doing that and it will come up clean. So that's how I do that. Like I say, if it is really badly tarnished, you may need to use a very fine cutting compound or polishing compound, like I say, but 9 times out of 10, if it's not too bad, this will clean it. Right, I've given it another 5 minutes with the vinegar, and it's come up pretty well, you can see, but it's worse than I thought. It's fetched the tarnishing off all the time. I mean, that's the red counter shell off the cluster, and I haven't done anything with that. That's what it started off like. That's got a rust stain on it as well and everything. That's basically what I started out with. After rubbing it down with the vinegar for 5 minutes, that's what I've got. Fetched the rust stain off completely, fetched the tarnishing off completely, but the problem is it was worse than I thought, and it's not just tarnished, it's been left that long. I don't know whether you can see right there. Now that is not actually a tarnishing of the chrome. That's actually eaten into the chrome, the decay of the chrome, and it's, if you rub your finger over them, it's rough. It feels like, I know you can hear it. That's not too there. And it feels like sandpaper. So the vinegar's removed all the tarnishing, but in places, some more there, look, you can just see it there, and that is what was underneath the tarnish, which is rough. It's been eaten into the surface. So I say, although the vinegar did what I expected it to do, which was remove all the tarnishing, what was underneath the tarnish was some scratches there as well, look. Which I don't think I'm going to be able to do anything about, to be honest. Look, it's there. But the vinegar's removed the tarnishing as I expected, but it's revealed another problem, which is that the actual chrome itself has been eaten into, and it's eating away at it, and it is rough. So that is going to need some sort of polishing compound on it. So as I say, the vinegar did what I expected it to do, which was remove the tarnish, but it's revealed a worse problem underneath the tarnishing, which is that the chrome coating itself has been eaten away. It's not actually eaten, from what I can see, it's not actually eaten away completely all the way through it though. So I'm going to do another video after this one with some polishing compound, fine polishing compound, and just see if I can make something of this, and without having to throw it away basically and buy a new one. I mean, they aren't dear. I mean, this is not a collector's bike, you know, it's not classic or anything like that. I could probably pick a new set of really good condition clocks up for maybe £40, £30 even, but that's not the point of what I'm trying to do with this bike. It's all not spending any money, basically trying to see what you can do for nothing, or at least for very little. So like I say, it's not quite got the outcome I expected. It's done what I expected it to do, the vinegar, but like I say, the chrome has just been eaten away underneath all that tarnishing. So I am going to have to use some sort of polishing compound on it. I'm not sure what I've got. I know I've got some polishing compounds, but whether I've got a fine enough one to risk on the plastic chrome, I don't know, but I will go and find out and post up the video of that soon. This is where we've got to after the vinegar. Cleaned it up quite well, but there's still the etched parts where it's been degraded really. That's not going to, how much vinegar you put on there is not going to do anything about that. It's pitted the surface. So really we need some sort of polish. Now I wouldn't use a chrome polish or a metal polish on plastic chrome. The reason I don't use it is because it's quite a soft finish compared to metal chromed parts. It's very thin, you can easily wear through it as well, and with it being quite soft, it tends to be the coarser compounds that you use for chrome tend to dull it as well, dull the finish even if you don't wear through. So you want some sort of paint cutting compound really. Doesn't really matter what, but if it's designed for paint it should be fine enough. So I've got some, found this line in my shed, turtle wax colour restorer, removes oxidisation, returning paintwork to its original colour, but basically it's just a thin, fairly fine cutting compound. So I'm just going to use a bit of that and rub it in, see what we get. I mean, this is a bit, I would like to say I've not tried it on anything quite as bad as this before, so this is a bit of an experiment for me, but it works on less degraded chrome plastic, so we're going to try it on this, which is basically, it was fit for the bin before we started. So we'll see what we get. So there we go. Just rub it in. You can be, if it's a fine cutting compound, you can rub fairly hard. You don't have to be too delicate with these things. If you're using, let's say, a coarse cutting compound, you just dull the surface, and if you have to rub enough, you will just rub through the surface. But let's see what happens here. A bit of quick rub. Let's just see where we've got to after that quick rub down. See what happens. Not bad. Still a few little marks. There's scratches on it which are not going to come out at all, but that's much better. So there's the worst bit. The worst bit was here underneath where the bracket, it sits that way up. So that was underneath and that was the worst bit. So let's try some on there and just see what happens. And like I say, with it being a fine cutting compound, you can keep rubbing. You don't have to be too gentle or too worried about rubbing through the surface. Just give it a good scrub with the cutting compound. There we go. Right. Let's see where we've got to now. After that quick rub down, I can find a clean bit of cloth, rub it off. Well, that's not bad actually. Like I say, it's not perfect. You wouldn't, if it came brand new like that, you'd be a bit upset, but there's a scratch there that won't come out. But that, you can see, that was the worst bit, and I've only given it a quick rub. That is pretty good, isn't it? Really, I'm surprised myself, to be honest, how bad it was and how well it's coming up. So I'm just going to carry on doing the whole thing, and then we'll see what it looks like when I've finished. Alright, I've spent 5 minutes just giving it a wipe down with a rubbing compound, and I'm quite pleased with that actually. That's come up a lot better than I thought. It's not dulled the chrome, still shiny. A few marks that are not going to come out, some scratches. But where, I mean, if we get the old one, that was what it started off like. Totally oxidised, rough. There's a rust stain going down there. And that's the better one of the two that I started with. And we've ended up with that, which I think is pretty good. I mean, that's a scratch which won't come out, but to put that back on a daily rider, not a show bike, but bike you use every day, I think that is quite a good result.